All right, to Queensland now, where in a new integrity push, the State Education Department is calling on education staff to dob in their dodgy mates. In a video message sent out to all staff, the new Director General of Queensland Education, Michael Darth, described integrity as core business and launched an online complaint form for students, teachers and community members to voice their concerns. But here's the worrying bit: he wants it all anonymous. For his reaction, let's bring in the leader of the Lib National Party in Queensland, David Crisafulli. David, my concern is this turns into a witch hunt for a whole lot of disgruntled people. And why on earth is it being introduced by a public servant anyway? I mean, if this is going to happen, surely it comes from an elected MP, from a minister. What do you think?
Well, but Peter, isn't that the damning indictment? That it's taken a senior public servant to acknowledge that integrity is an issue that matters and that the state government has an integrity crisis. So it's taken a public servant to do exactly what an elected official should. Now, for months, we've had the government saying, we don't have an integrity crisis, it's all about the vibe. Does the opposition want us to launch a royal commission on a vibe? Well, piece by piece, the jigsaw puzzle has just come unstuck. And now you have a situation where a senior mandarin feels that it's such an issue that he needs to address it. Well, what I'd like is for the Premier to look at that and realise that the integrity issue isn't in the classroom, it's in the cabinet room. And that's the call for action what we want to see today.
It's a bit noisy where you are. It looks like there's ambulances behind you. What on earth are you up to?
Well, Peter, when governments give up on governing with integrity, they give up on governing for people, and essential services go by the wayside. I'm standing in front of the QE2 hospital, large hospital in Brisbane's south side, because today the figures came in and it shows that Queensland has the worst ambulance ramping in the nation. Now, people often say to me, what does ambulance ramping mean? Well, it's not the fault of the men and women sitting behind me, and it's not the fault of the doctors or nurses inside. Ambulance ramping occurs when a hospital is so full that an ambo cannot offload their patient within the recommended half an hour time. Now, when this government came to office 7 years ago, ambulance ramping was at 15% in Queensland. It was 30% when Anna Bligh said it was a basket case. Well, today in Queensland, it's at 38%. That's the worst in the nation. But at the majority of southeast Queensland hospitals, it's over 50%, including this one here. So that means that if you go to a hospital, you have a greater than 1 in 2 chance of not being offloaded and getting treatment. And what that means at the other end of the phone is that if your kid's having an asthma attack, or dad's having a heart attack, or grandma falls and breaks her hip, it means there's less likelihood of one of these brave heroes being able to get to you. And I stress, it's not their fault. They are buckling under a system that the government has not properly addressed. And we've put our solutions on the table, and they include better triaging when they turn up here. We want data shared in real time to drive cultural change. We want an end to this nonsense of that centralised control. Put the doctors and nurses back in charge and properly resource the front line rather than the back of house. Let's stop counting a chair that's underneath a shower head as a bed. Let's get real, give them the tools they need, and let's fix the Queensland health crisis.
Yeah, but you and I know how it all works. This is not her fault. This is not Anastasia Palaszczuk's fault. Tomorrow she'll say it's all the fault of Scott Morrison, even though the Commonwealth doesn't run Queensland hospitals.
Yep, and Peter, I'll never walk away as a proud Queenslander from wanting more from Canberra. That's our job, and that's what every state opposition leader or premier should do. But let's get real here and acknowledge that Queensland hospitals are run by the Queensland government, and on any metrics, those numbers have continued to get worse. Dental waiting list, elective surgery list, blowout times, ambulance ramping times. And this isn't because of COVID. They love to blame COVID and Canberra and all sorts of things. This has been a decline over more than half a decade. And at some stage, you've got to accept responsibility. We are talking to people who are losing their lives over this.
Spot on, David. Good on you for being there tonight and putting the focus on that issue. I wanted to talk about education, but that is, if not more important. David Crisafulli, thank you for your time.